Hello and welcome to lesson 4 of how to code a website for beginners. In this lesson we'll be focusing on how to take everything that we've already learned and use it to make a basic but nice looking website. So the first thing that we're going to do is how to design a basic header. Now for my website, this image is my header. That's all that it is. It's just an image. So as we showed in previous lessons, you can take any image from your computer, right click, open in a browser, and you can take this URL to use as whatever photo you want where. However, since I'm connected to the internet, all I'm going to do is take my header and use that instead. If you have a photo that you can use on your computer that's of a nice size for your header, feel fine to use that. So just right click, view image, and it gives you the URL of it. Copy it and paste it in between your header div tags. So the code that you use to embed an image is just image source, the URL, width, and the height is auto. The alt is just the description of the photo. Save it. Then we're going to refresh the HTML file that we've opened in the browser, and there you go. So that's the image that you've just embedded. Now this blue strip is due to the background color that you've defined in your site CSS file. So we'll just go ahead and delete that. And because we don't have any text used in our header, we're just going to go ahead and delete all the font attributes, so they're not just bogging down the site.css file. So we're going to delete that, refresh it, and it gets rid of that blue stripe. So the next part in this lesson is how to create an article snippet like you would see on your average home page of a website, like this. So you've got the title of the article, you got a photo from the article, and then you have the text and a link to that full article. I'll go back, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy a bit of text instead of typing something all out, because this is just a example. I'm going to go into my HTML file, and we're going to put the text where we want it. And where we want it is after this photo. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste the text. Now as you can see, we've already used text, but I was just using those as labels, so I didn't tell you the proper etiquette of what you should do when you're including text into an HTML file. And what you should do is add opening and closing tags for your paragraph. So I've put it at the beginning of the image because I want the image to be part of the paragraph, and as you can see, I've put it before the div class because that class is pretty much connected to the image and its width. So I'm going to save that. And as you can see, it's grouped the image with the paragraph. Now I'm just going to go into the site and I'm going to change the font size to something a bit more reasonable. Again, I would always have that above 16 px minimum. So, or at least, that was bad grammar. Right. Now the text is centered in the center because that's how we defined it in our site CSS file. However, for articles, I would like the text to be centered in the left. And a way to do that is what I'm going to do is group these two together, the text and the image, to make it all set together. And to do that, I'm just going to add another section. That's that image. And put it at the end of the article bed, because that's going to be a new article. So I've closed that, gone into my site CSS, and I've made an article. Open tag, closing tag. I'm going to put text align to the left, and the article width is going to be 100%. But it's going to be 100% of the section because that's what I've put the article inside. So it's only going to go across from there, like so. So there we go. We've pulled that to the left for the article. And the next bit is we're going to add a header so you can see what the title of the article is. So I go back into my article. I put a header. I'm going to call it just article title. Press it, and there's my article. And because I put it inside of the article tags, it's automatically text aligned to the left. Now the reason I used H2 isn't because of size, the physical size of the font. I've used H2 because this title, article title, is not the title of this entire page. It's just a snippet. The H1 header should only be used to define the title for the entire page, and is also what should pop up in your title bar tab. So I've used article 2. So if I want to include an H1 tag, which you should always have just one of those on a page, and you should always have one so Google can know what the page is about, I'm going to put it outside of my article. And I've just put it something that describes what this page is actually about. And as you can see, the H1 is bigger than the H2. However, you can change the attributes in your in your CSS file to make them as big or as fancy or as different font, whatever you want. You can modify that just like you modify the paragraph. However, because it's tagged like this, all you would have to do would be to tag it like that. So you don't need a pound symbol, you don't need a div dot code in front of it, just H1. And we can put the font size to, we'll say 50 pixels just for the example. Refresh it, and there's your 50. Now we can do the same for H2. And I could put the font size to say 55. And you see that's actually bigger, but it's an H2. And all the H2 really means is this is a subtitle and not the most important title of this entire page. So you can use numerous H2s on a single page, but only use one H1 on a page so Google isn't confused. I'm just going to delete that so it goes back to normal. Right, and there you have your article sorted, and we can make another article with this one. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste over that just to get 2 articles. So title 1, title 2. And you can keep doing that for however many articles you want listed on your home page. I'm just going to reduce the size of my footer so it's not so massive, because it's just a footer. And there you go, you got a small footer. I'll increase that just a bit. Should I leave that as 20? And I'll do the padding. Might need to be a bit bigger than that. Yeah, so it needs to be bigger than that. No, it's not the padding I want. Because that does the padding. So, just make it. Oh, I didn't scroll down on the way. Right, so there's a nice size footer. Right, font size, but you change the font size to something smaller, and then you would go in and set the height to be a specific height. But for the moment, I'm just going to do that because it was just bugging me and it wasn't really what I'm showing. So there's your 2 articles, and again, you can make 4, 5, 6, 7, however many you want to put on the home page. Now the next part that we're going to show in this lesson, oh, I forgot to do breaks. So to do a page break, not a page break, a line break, all you're doing is including a bit of code, which is that, just that. And as you can see, if I save it and refresh it, it's made that drop down a line. You can do it again to get another line drop, and there you go, there you got 2 separate paragraphs. Right, so after that, the next bit is we've done that. We're going to embed links as photos and images, and all we need to do is copy this bit and put it where we want the bit that we want linked. So for instance, I want this to be a link, so I'm going to put a href. I'm going to put the URL of where I want it to link to, and then I'm going to put a closing tag, which is just an A. I'm going to refresh it, and as you can see, that's changed to show that's a link. You click on it, and there it goes. It brings me to the URL I told it to in the href tag. You can also put it at the outside of things so you can see the nice color. That's probably a better way to do it. Then again, it does the same thing. So if I wanted to make an image clickable, all I would do is I would go into the image and I would add the same thing around it. So I've just put it inside of the images div class tags, but at the beginning and end of the actual image tag. Save that, refresh the page, and you'll see that the mouse changes to a clickable icon, and it brings you to my home page. So, easy enough to create links. I'm just going to add a line of text that says something like, read more, and then I'm going to link that text to go to the article, just to make it look like a proper website. So, read more. href, URL, refresh, and you've got a read more. Click on it. There you go. Now, most people would have this read more off to the right. Again, you can make a div id and focus it around that. So I could put div id read more. go into my site CSS and add a more text line right. I should probably actually put width as well. Oops, save that. Then refresh, and it pulls it to the right. You could also style stuff in your HTML file, but Google frowns on that, so I won't be showing you how to do that in this lesson. Right, so we have a proper looking website, almost, with minus the colors and the design of it. You know, we do have a proper website though. You can change the background color, you can embed images where you want them. If you want this on the right, this image on the right and the text on this side, all we would do is go into the image 50, and we would go into the site, div ID image 50, and we'll put float right. Refresh it, and it's pulled both images to the right. If you only want one of them to go over though, you can either copy this. I said either, but I'm only going to show you one way because again, Google doesn't like it when you modify some or when you add CSS code in the HTML file. So div 50, we're going to change that to right, and we're going to change this to left. Change that to left. You don't have to change the names, but I changed it so it'd be easier to remember what's what. And we're going to change this one to the right, and the name of this to the left. Refresh it, and then you've got the images on different sides of the text. Now the reason you want to have this div first is when you view it on a mobile, the image pops up first instead of the text, which is a nice layout to have on a mobile. So always use that system. Right, and I do believe that is everything that we need to learn for... Nope, I forgot the navigation. And all you do to make a simple navigation bar is you're just creating text of what you want each page to be called, and then linking to that text like we linked to the article and the image with a href. So that is the second to last lesson of how to code a website for beginners. You can actually just go ahead and play with everything you learned and see what layouts you can create. You can actually create this layout with what I've shown you. You know, all I've done is, well, you won't get this drop down menu and stuff, but you'll be able to just click on that, click on that, click on that, click on that, click on that. I haven't showed you how to modify your links so you won't get like a background color when you hover and whatnot, but you'll be able to include a header, you'll be able to define your padding and your margins, implement a photo to get an article, you'll be able to click onto the photo, you'll be able to add all this stuff. All of that is that's an added image. I've gone and I've made div classes to where this is, you know, an image. I've done it just like this, where I've done div class image 50 right. I've called it an image 50, but it doesn't have to be an image that's in there. For instance, I'm just going to cut that, and I'm going to put the div at the end of the text. And as you can see, it's just the text that's been pulled into that div class of 50% on the right. So I'm just going to put that back to how it was, and you see that it's pulled back to what I've defined it as, because that's just paragraph, and this is what I've defined in the div class. So that's what I've done with this. 33%. So then I added text and some logos. This is just an image I put in it, another image, that's an image with a form. We haven't covered forms, but if you all had that as an image. Image, these are all linked to different pages, the website. Same thing here, that's an article, image link, and then I've got my footer at the bottom. I've just put the background white and I've added a border to it, and then there's a link to my disclaimer. If I go to the Treble, you'll see that all I've done here is just all articles, and I've changed the background of each, and you can just do that in the article definement in your site CSS. And to do that, you can add the background color here, but in all honesty, I wouldn't do it that way if you want to have a white and then different color, then white, then different color. I hate it when I forget my words, but you wouldn't do it like that if you wanted it to automatically change every time you added another article snippet. I'll show you how to do that another time, because that's the end of this lesson and all I've covered in lesson 4 of how to code a website for beginners. So I hope that was helpful, and as always, if you have any questions, just ask them below or in the comment section, because this is going on YouTube. So yeah.